Welcome back, everybody. Now, set in Mount Grace, award-winning and best-selling author Dr. Kopano Matlwa's latest book tackles issues of grief, loss, and domestic violence. Bosadi takes us through Naledi's journey as she navigates relationships with the different people in her life, such as her husband, Lesedi's Rakgadi, her helper, Mercy, her estranged friend, Tshego, and her own mother. Bosadi is Dr. Matlwa's fourth book as she returns to fiction. The author of Coconut, Spilt Milk, and Period Pain joins us now virtually to tell us more about her latest book. Dr. Matlwa, very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You know, we're just discussing off camera that I'm not one to immerse myself in the emotion of a book, but you did very well in terms of, you driving me into my emotional roller coaster. And this book is so emotionally charged. And especially the first line of the first chapter, it opens with a description of a violent act. Well, so graphic that I won't even repeat it on air, but it got me hooked. Was that your strategy to hook the readers to continue up until the very last chapter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a strategy as such, but I guess, we've almost become quite numb, I think, to just, how every other day we're hearing about another woman, another child, domestic violence, etc., abuse. So I wanted to shake things up a little bit, have readers kind of engage in the subject matter from a different perspective. And so if it did serve the purpose of getting you hooked, Simpiwe, then I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, sure. And even the knife, I mean, the tool that Naledi used in the murder, it also had a name.
Yeah, I mean, I think this concept of, I think it's a bit of a metaphor, right? I think they are the many women will be aware in many of our African traditions, the small sharp knife you use to peel vegetables at funerals. There's also this sense of the strength of women being, related to sharp objects, but there's also the violence of sharp objects. So I think it was an attempt to play at all these many ways that
Okay.
both strength is seen, but also the things that women are expected to persevere with,
Right,
which
right.
sometimes should not be persevered with at all.
Now, speak to us about Naledi's relationship with the different women in her life, her mother, Mercy, Rakgadi, Tshego, and Cecilia.
Yeah, so I think as much as, at face value, Bosadi might be perceived as a book about gender, about domestic violence, also a story about friendship. It's also about the stories of women and the relationships they make, the power dynamics, the friendship that cultivates with her domestic worker, but the tensions of that friendship, but also how sometimes, the custodians of patriarchy sometimes are the women themselves, right? They reinforce that you need to toe the line. So it is the complexity of the relationships that Naledi holds that I was attempting to explore.
Yeah, and just considering that, Bosadi translates as womanhood. So what does Bosadi mean to you in the context of Naledi's story? Is it burden? Is it becoming? Is it survival? Or even sacrifice?
I think it's all those things. And I think partly why I didn't feel that the English captured it, right? I think the term womanhood is as good as a translation, I think, as we can come close to. But this sense of "Kgotlhella ngwanaka ke bosadi" is persevere, my child. This is womanhood is often, something that is said. And it carries both the privilege of being a woman, the joys of motherhood, of childbearing, of sometimes leading in your community, but also the pain and the shame and some of the things that are not discussed and said. And so, yeah, Bosadi attempts to encapsulate all of that.
I mean, just perseverance, or Kgotlhela, as you've put it, would you link it to the root of her staying in this particular abusive relationship, even though her father raised her to be outspoken? I mean,
Yeah.
what's at the root of that?
Yeah, and I'm sure we all ask ourselves that question, right? I mean, with our friends and family members, it's a common question. Why do you stay? Why are you with this person, right? Even the cases that we see on the news, we know that perhaps there were court cases opened, charges dropped, and then this person ends up, it ends in an awful way.
Yeah.
So I think it is the question. I think as an author, I attempt not to answer the questions. I want to pose the questions to stir debate, for it to meet people where they are, sometimes to hold a mirror for ourselves as society. So I don't know why Naledi stays. It frustrated me as the author, as it probably does frustrate the readers.
Yeah, more so because there's so many different cultural nuances, to this particular conversation, to this question, why women stay in an abusive relationship. It could be for the kids. It could be desperation, that women just need some sort of, being grounded in a relationship. But then why do we never explore why her mother cried when she told her that she's getting married? You know what they say, that mothers know best. Do you think deep down she knew that Lesedi wasn't good for her daughter?
Perhaps, and perhaps, historically, and if I guess if you I take the position that we can't change the norms, we must only accept them. Sometimes, as a mother, one mourns, right? I mean, I'm a mother of two daughters, I have a son as well. And in the society that we are in, the freedoms that they have now, I want them to be the same freedoms that they can enjoy in marriage. But sometimes there almost is a sense that there's a death to the old self, right? That you leave the childhood ways behind. You are now a woman, you are now a mother. And so perhaps, yes, it's maybe that she did have a sense that Lesedi was a unsavory character, but also that she mourned what her child would be now losing, right? To step into this role. So I think that's the joy of writing, that every reader interprets things differently and they enhance it. And the book becomes even more enjoyable for me as I hear how different people relate and make sense of it.
Yeah.
But absolutely, Simpiwe.
Let's talk about, Naledi's relationship with a domestic helper. I mean, that is a relationship, one of employer-employee, black woman to black woman. And how then do you navigate the immense complexity of building such a solid relationship, or building a fragile sisterhood across the power imbalance? Is their bond mutually exclusive or mutually understanding, or is it just a coalition of survival in a shared oppressive environment?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think I've been fascinated, right? Because if we think about our history as Black South African women, our grandmothers, sometimes mothers today, even sometimes ourselves today, are cleaning people's homes. And I think a few generations ago, it was white homes. So there was a sense of a distance, there was a separation, there was an us and them. But now you have, with prosperity, folks who might have actually come from very much the same background, even grown up in the same township, but one has married better or has done better, and here you are together in a deeply intimate relationship. I
Yeah.
mean, when somebody's in your home, they see the things that you don't put on social media, the things that you can't hide. They hear the sounds in the middle of the night. They see the stained sheets. And so this deeply intimate relationship I was fascinated with. And I think exploring that between Naledi and Mercy, the power. And then, of course, there's the xenophobia that comes into it. She's a non South African, but also that ultimately they are both mothers, right? And so, despite our class and, oh, Naledi wants to be a mother, despite our class and our, which passport we carry, they are women, they are away from their families, they have shame, they have pain. And I think that draws them together. But as you say, they still, it's almost seen as not the kind of friendship you should have, right?
Yeah.
This is not how we make friends. And so, yeah, the book attempts to unravel this thing of class, this thing of of identity, I guess, South African, Zimbabwean, and the things that bind us, but also the things that hold friendship at bay.
And it opens us to a world of a darker web, of an emotional roller coaster, as it were, especially when the domestic worker explains to us, how Naledi took her child to the hospital and never returned. And she never even asked what happened to the baby. And the nursery, which the domestic helper was tasked to manage, now became a sanctuary or a physical monument of profound silenced grief. So let's talk about, how the ghost of the child, who never was, by the way, continues, to haunt her, continues to compound the pressure and the trauma and contribute to Naledi's sense of, being swallowed whole by the expectation of motherhood.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's part of, to your earlier question around this notion of Bosadi. I mean, I think child loss is extremely deeply painful. Carrying a baby for many months and not being able to sort of hold them your arms is something that is, you don't wish on your worst enemies, right? It's an awful thing to
True.
go through. And I think at the center of these messy relationships between Naledi and Lesedi, Naledi and Rakgadi, Naledi and Mercy, even Tshego, her best friend, what is unspoken about is this deep pain that everybody's grappling with, right? And not talking about. So I think, I guess, to your earlier question, why do women stay? I think it's multi-layered. It's all these things. It's shame. It's a sense of you have failed. Your body has failed. You failed to do the one thing that your gender, is presumed in society you should be doing, right? And so perhaps to some extent, Naledi has this sense of she deserves the violence. She has failed as a wife. She's failed to bring a child into this family, and that maybe she can fix it. There's also a hope that maybe in a couple of months she will be pregnant again and things will be better, that this is just some stormy waters, right? This is just a season. So yeah, it's all of those things. I think there are no answers. I think the book doesn't propose any answers, but it hopefully stimulates debate and discussion and creates a healthy discomfort with the way that things are.
It may not propose the answers, but I gotta tell you this, that Bosadi, it feels like a quiet revolution. Hey? Great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Lovely chatting. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, that is award-winning and best-selling author Dr Kopano Matlwa's latest book, Bosadi.